build some more. And then Bob wanted to make sure that when the speaker broke, that it didn't look like a white piece of foam. So we went through a lot of engineering and chemicals, and we brought in the truck that sprayed the foam, and we dyed all that foam to the perfect texture to make sure that when it cracked, it was the same homogeneous gray all the way through. And then Lyle came and flocked it and touched it up and airbrushed it and made it pretty. But then it came to, well, he's going to play the guitar, and he's going to be next to it? No, we're going to have him right in front of it. So now you've got another set of logistics, and how much effect can you put in the room, and when the speaker blows, where can he be? And I lobbied for glasses, thank you, to get him a little, because it was laced with Primacord. Yes, it's a stunt guy, but they're living people too. And, when you watch this sequence, I want you to think about the sound. The sound on this sequence is the best, and this is one of the good reasons they won the Academy Award for their great work. It's just a fabulous compliment to a clock that we built. And it worked well, and we did it in the one take, and it was a lot easier to do this after we changed unit managers. We had a very good, comfortable, hands-off kind of unit manager, and we were allowed to do things properly and with time and money. And, but we had a lot of stuff. We had sparks, we had these cable wipes that took stuff off, we had air movers, we had the pad to throw the stunt guy back into the breakaway bookcase. It seems so simple, but when you break it down bit by bit, there's so much work in each piece, and I think that's one of the reasons why it lends to the longevity of the film. But that was one cool gag that we did.
It's the only movie I ever worked on where everyone tried so hard. Everything. The lights in Doc Brown's garage, right? They build them to look like lights from the Gamble House, which is the location in Pasadena. You guys were probably there. It's the location that the exterior of Doc's house, and he's got his garage. I never saw people try so hard to make something beautiful, and it wasn't like it was a super big budget movie, right? Everyone was just making the most beautiful stuff they could.
It was all on, when they went into it, sure, they got greenlit for it, but it was still, a chance and a choice. Nothing was like free flow anywhere, especially with the unit manager that we had. We just were held to our nubs every single day, everything we did.
This drawing took it kind of carried the day, and that's what got built. But before this, I drew stacks and stacks of all these speakers. It isn't like we knew that's what it was going to be. I drew all these stacks of, because it was going to be like he had a stack, like a Marshall amp stack, right? Because he's a rock and roll guitarist. But that wasn't enough, and I just kept drawing more and more, and Bob and Bob kept saying, well, what about something bigger, right? Yeah, it was amazing. They did, in order to make that speaker, you've got to build a form, and then you've got to make a template and drag that template around in a circle around the form to make the big cone shape, right? So you do a big plaster drag, and then you've got a mold for your foam. There's weeks of effort in there. Anyway, let's go to the next, please. So little scribbles here and there, like, can't we use the glove box or something? Let's go to the next. Right, so let's use it for that. Guys make a little aluminum panel. And somehow, on all that surplus honey, I found a Röntgen meter there, right? Which is the units in which you measure radiation. All right, so let's go to the next, please. Some little scribbles of the time, the clocks, the date indicators, right? So they're experimenter boxes with the hammer tone finish. You go buy at Radio Shack, and we nibbled holes in them with the nibbler like you buy at Radio Shack. They're just the right size for the big alphanumeric displays. A lot of thinking, how do the plates angle them towards the driver, a lot of scribbling. These are done, like I say, with this kind of crazy stylus called a pencil. And then this really cool application called a marker, which smells. All right, let's go to the next.
Let's hold it for a second on that one.
Okay, sorry, back one.
It might have been before you came, and we had Klinger, and we knew that we were going to have all these LEDs. I mean, that phone box we know probably came from Klinger's kit, because he used to repair phones for a living too, but Just so you know, we did a lot of pre-work of camera testing, and we took all the high bright LEDs of all different kinds and all the little cascade lights that we have. We put them all on cards, painted black, and we put them on a stage where we shot. They were doing camera tests for the talent, and Dean Cundy took time to see how effective these would be to help tell the story properly inside that car. So we went through a bunch of different choices as a result of those camera tests, and hence the iconic look today.
It wasn't so easy to get LEDs to show up on camera, right? This isn't like shooting daytime, it's not nighttime. And that was actually a big deal on that little TV show with the self-driving car. The whole dash on that thing was designed, the reason for the design was to put the instruments into shadow. That was what drove that shape, because without shadow you couldn't see those LEDs in the daytime. It was pretty sensitive back then, unlike the film. All right, so let's go to the next, please. More little, here's what it is, and here's what we're calling it, and there's where it goes kind of scribbles. Call that the Christmas tree, because that's what you call the lights at a trip. And this mic is kind of crazy, right?
So on the Christmas tree, we called it a cascade, no offense, and it was because of the cascade circuit that did that. And I thought that was one of the nicest features that we built in the car, Mike. I really like that. And it came from Bob and Bob talking about having something on the reverse shot of Michael when he's starting to speed up that can show that. As you know, we had a lot of stuff on the dash with the dashboard and the speedometer and the little LED readout that says 88 on the front. But when we put that behind him, it gave him this nice glow, and it gave a lot of element and a lot of tension as the speed increased. And I think it's one of the prettiest features on the car. Thanks, Mike.
It's really cool. Thank you.
No?
Yep. Switch mics.
Uh-oh.
Mine
We're back.
back.
Okay. The punishment isn't finished yet. All right. Let's go to the next picture, please.
Everybody laugh more.
Another crazy little throwaway thing, the Mr. Fusion. It's like Bob and Bob were so grateful, like we all were, for Mr. Coffee, because for years we had perked coffee, which was boiled coffee in your house. And it's terrible. And then along comes Mr. Coffee. It's wonderful. It's this little thing that sits on your counter. So wouldn't it be great to have an energy source like that? Like no bombing, no wars. It's like we're not burning up coal. We're gonna pop in banana peels and beer cans. And I love that idea. So Mr. Fusion was a little scribble. There's the thing, which I didn't even know what it was. It turns out to be some kind of a hard drive casing. There it is put together with the little Krups coffee maker. Originally, we hoped it would be Westinghouse. Let's go to the next.
Hold on this.
Yes, sir.
After Mike built that, we never had coffee again in our shop. But we didn't know why.
Let's go to the, this is done, now it's time for like a Rip Van Winkle story, right? When I was your age, we didn't have these computers. And, so this is done with press type, where you have a sheet of plastic. It's kind of like a film camera. You have a sheet of plastic. That's part of technology at the time. You always have to have plastic. And the letters are on the back of the sheet of the plastic, and you take a pencil and you rub the sheet, and it transfers the letter down onto a piece of paper. And then you go to a stat house where they have a litho camera, and they make these things out of film, and then they make a rub down transfer, and then you can put it on there. It was complicated. Let's go to the next picture. Thanks. So originally, we thought maybe Westinghouse would like to have their name on it, but no. I don't know, was it like a Reese's Pieces M&M's thing? Yeah.
It was, and the same with the Cal Can and the Alpo dog food.
Yeah.
It was the same kind of, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't you want that? Okay, who knew?
So this day I had 2 extra gray markers, I can tell, and a red one. So
It works.
let's go to the next.
Wait, let's talk about
Okay,
this.
sorry.
Well, you drew them, we built them, and we found parts, and some parts were heavier than air, and so we made this, and yeah, it was a little heavy on top, but it was cool. It gave it mass, and it mounted well to the big mass down below. But when you tip it back, if you're not really careful, you could possibly break it. And so we did this shot with Chris Lloyd, and on the very first take, bam, he broke it right off, snapped it right off. Here it is, so beautiful. Mike's design, our guys' work, and he just trashed it, like a lot of things that we let him touch.
What? The people who build things refer to the actors as talent. And we love the talent because we wouldn't have jobs without them. But you know, you can't always trust them with your stuff. And if you're a guy like Kevin, you have extra parts sitting around.
Hopefully. Again, when we had out here at Twin Pines Mall, and we gave them the remote controller with the battery pack on it to drive the car, and he's going to throw that nice big red switch on the upper left corner. Bam, first take, snapped it right off.
Okay, so at this point, I've got some pictures from 2 and 3, some scribbles, and I don't know how patient you are, or whether you want this to go on further, or what. Technically, we're here. All right, so I take that as a yes vote. We're here to talk about the car, though, and there are all kinds of goofy stuff in here. A lot of stuff that didn't make it to screen, so maybe that would be interesting. I don't know. Okay, so let's go to the next. There was a question about background cars. We wanted to have a lot of background cars. Cop cars, flying taxis, all this stuff. So I was like the practical guy they hired. Like, well, let's get some Ford Tauruses, right? And we'll make the background cars. And we'll build the bodywork so it looks like the wheels could fold up, because you know that's how you make a car fly, is you fold up the wheels. So, okay, so there's enough room for them to fold up. And then we'll put some different bodywork on them, and wouldn't that be kind of enough? Answer was no. And I really learned a lot on that show. People may ask you for the practical thing, but that may not really be what they want. Or maybe I was there just to give a full spectrum of choices.
Yeah.
All right, a lot of people were drawing some really crazy stuff, and the crazy stuff made it in. Big lesson for me. Okay, let's go to the next, please.
Can we hold on this for a second?
Sorry.
So, big lesson for me. We're in the meeting. The driver captain says, what kind of cars can we use when we go to the modern day? Well, Bob says, let's see, we could have like all the primary colors. We could have red color, blue, yellow. We could have, maybe we'll just have red and yellow, and we could go with that and keep it nice and, you know, let's just have like red cars. We'll just, in the future, all we have is red cars. And so it came to a day, and as Teamsters get up really early, they put a whole bunch of red cars. And I'm going to say I don't remember the exact color choice of what it was for this story, but Bob gets to the set and says, where's all the other colors? And the driver captain said, well, you picked red. You didn't want any other colors. And Bob said, well, we talked about them. And that's what I learned. If he says anything, you better have something ready in your pocket, because he's going to ask for it.
You can see my writing had changed by this point. Well, you know, we were kind of holding our breath for part 2, and then along came Roger Rabbit, so part 2 was a little delayed there, but it was worth waiting for, I think. Let's go to the next, please. Yeah, so this is a concept from John Bell, an amazingly gifted guy. Amazingly gifted, another fellow classmate from Art Center, and he had a real finger on the future. He drew stuff that looked so great and really appealed to Rick Carter, the production designer. And he had this idea that in the future, you know, like this super yuppie car of the day, a beautiful 6 Series BMW coupe, like maybe maybe that's what the kid to buy and chop turned into a, kind of a rat rod. So it's a primer finished rat rod made out of one of the most expensive, fashionable cars of the day. It was so cool to see that. So he would have these concepts, and then for this one, I did a series of pictures and then bid it out and worked with the builders to get it made. So concept, that's John Bell's concept. Fender skirt, crazy wheel covers, all that stuff. And they're drawings of how to make all that stuff too. Built by some talented guys in Arizona, actually. Let's go to the next, please. Scribbles for Dr. Brown's train. The idea here was that, my idea was that it would use the steam a couple of times. High pressure cylinders, low pressure cylinders. There's a condenser up there too, so that it doesn't need to use so much water. And some of the steam is sent back and runs a giant turbine, and then there's a huge alternator back here, and then that powers the time travel circuits and so forth. 27 people in the art department, and I think there must have been at least 10 contributing on the train.
Interesting.
On the train.
Thanks. Yeah, okay, so let's go to the next, please. And that's from the front. I thought it'd be kind of neat to have it be streamlined. That seemed like a good idea to me at the time, including the Victorian era hand-blown tubes in the old-time flux capacitor upward. Yeah, well, anyway. Okay, so next, please. Dr. Brown was going to have a van, a flying amphibious van, so he could go float out on a lake and fishing, and there's the little steps to get up into, based on a GMC motorhome, front-wheel drive, tandem wheel package and back, so there would be a lot of interior space. Would have been cool. It was written out of the script at the last minute, so I got to help build some other cars. Let's go to the next. John Bell had a concept for a taxi, and it looked kind of like a Citroen DS21, and they said, Mike, John's got other stuff to do, could you kind of nurse this thing into reality? So I made a whole series of sketches. He had a kind of a loose front 3/4, and I drew a rear 3/4, and let's go to the next. And then this is how it worked back in the day. You draw it, and then you draw the modifications over it. This is an underlay sketch I did for John, so that when he sketched the car, it would be really literally what we were going to build. Let's go to the next, please. The guys at ILM, once the model was done, they asked, well, how are the wheels going to come down? So I made some quick little sketches to show that. Let's go to the next, please. And the next. And the next. Right, so now you know it can fly, right? Let's keep going, please. Next one. So you go take pictures of the car, and you'd measure the car because there was no internet, and you'd make drawings so the shop could actually build a real thing. So you need construction drawings. That's what this is about. They're sketches. They're actually to scale. Look at that. Let's go to the next, please. Right, so then that's overlaid with stuff to look like what John drew. And let's go to the next. Right, so side view again, you got to draw all this stuff. And one more to the next. Yeah, so John actually took that and did this little color sketch. So that is his, with his gorgeous signature there. Talented guy. I hope he's here today. All right, next please. And there's the drawing for the shop. Let's keep going, please. So here's a scribble to show what the flux capacitor could look like when you don't have integrated circuits or transistors, and you got to use vacuum tubes. So it takes up the whole hood of the car. It's lashed down with a couple leather belts there. The huge cables and coolant lines going to it because you got to cool those giant liquid-cooled radio transmitter tubes and so forth. It's all silly, but it looked kind of great. This is number 5, so I did at least 4 others. Let's go to the next, please. This was an idea. You pop into a Midas muffler shop, and you get this thing on your car so it can fly, and that means the wheels have to flop down. So the idea was we'd have cars in the background running around with stuff on them, and the stuff would look like this. And then let's go to the next, please. Right, and what that suggests is that these things could pivot out. And one more, please. Yeah, and then flop down, now you know it can fly.
Nice.
So it leaves, it's retrofitted with this thing, it leaves the car drivable underneath. But this didn't appeal to Rick so much. Let's go to the next, please. John Bell had this idea for these neat little parts on the side of the car and these sort of kind of cool frying pan kind of shapes that go outboard of the wheels. So I sketched that on an Edsel and maybe on a Mustang and did the working drawings so we could have those cars in the background. Let's go to the next, please.
So it's always the hubcap that makes time travel possible.
Well, flight anyway, right? Yeah. So
That's great.
here's a Mustang and there's the Edsel all kitted out. Let's go to the next, please. And then I did as a kindness, as a kindness to ourselves, I thought it would be good to think about how this could work without just being torn off when you turn the steering wheel. So we've got a couple skateboard wheels, and when the tire rubs the skateboard wheel, it pushes this thing out of the way, and it's spring-loaded there. So it actually worked. How about that? Let's go to the next, please. So on the back, you need an up and a down signal as well as the turn signals.
Wow.
All right, please. All right, well, we're back to the end, so that's it.
Thank you, Michael. Michael is an incredible artist. I was so lucky to have him with us. I loved his hand, I loved his look, I loved the way his drawings came out. And if you recall, we brought you back, you helped us on Michael Jackson when we did some storyboards there too for Moonwalker. Yep.
It's true. And that led to working on Moonwalker a little, for which I'm grateful. And the unforgettable thing of having Frank come in and say, Michael's going to be here today, so don't look at him. and so
We did.
it's like, all right, okay, well, we won't look at him. So we're all sitting around drawing, and he comes in, it's summer day, and he's got on green hospital scrubs, and a mask, like, so you won't make people sick, and shades, and he's wearing them indoors, you know, we're all trying not to look at him. It's so
Let's talk about Back to the Future.
All right, sorry.
Okay, so let's open it up for questions. This might be one of the last times we all are here to come and talk about these things, and after that I'll end up forgetting a lot of it. So if you have any questions, let's please do so. Can I see any hands? Don't pay attention to the guy in there with the Santa. Oh, you here in the second row.
Can you talk about any running changes or fixes to the DeLorean during the shoot?
Fixing the DeLorean.
Yeah, any running changes?
I just answered you. Fixing the DeLorean. You give a car to stunt people. What is their first objective? Their first objective is to put it to the metal as far and as fast and steer it crazily and smash it into the curb over here at the corner at Twin Pines Mall and break the rim, which we then have to go all the way back to the shop in the middle of the park. So fixing the DeLorean was good. Then we got a whole bunch of Teamster mechanics that did nothing but make sure the car ran all the time. Every time they had to work on the engine, we had to take the fins off.
Wow.
And then we had to let them work on that. Changes on the fly, you realized that we actually built 3 cars, and we made 3 cars in 3 different modes. The modes that we made were the ones with the plutonium chamber. Then there was a slight changeover to the hook mode, as we called it, and then the other mode, finally at the end, was the Mr. Fusion mode. They changed all the way through Back to the Future. A lot of people refer to Mr. Fusion as the Back to the Future 2 car. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why they do that, because maybe it was used a lot in that movie. I don't know, but it's actually something that appeared in the first movie, which we made. So what we had to do between those 2 major cars, the A and the B car, we constantly had to make a shift depending upon what we were shooting. We shot a movie at the same time as we shot B-roll stuff all the time. You have to realize that for the amount of hours that we did, for sets and props and gags and shots that we built that we never put in the movie, and for all the time we had to start over, we actually made almost 2 movies in the same amount of time. day and night. And one of the things that we constantly had to do was make sure those cars, for whatever unit wanted them, were in the right mode. As far as the car itself, I really grew to like the DeLorean car. I really did. I didn't have it as a daily driver. We only had the ones that we made for the movie, but I grew to respect that car as I continued to deal with that car. The one hiccup that we got, which Michael made a joke about, and I don't know if you remember, but the amount of money that we spend to make lights dim. And we were in Griffith Park on a shot that we had very little time to do with Michael J. Fox, who had a limited time window, and we also had daylight coming, which happened to hurt us day after night. That we had to make the lights dim when the car died, where he's trying to get going, and naturally the car dies. Suspense, conflict, let's resolve. But in the DeLorean, there's a relay that was something new at the time, that when the battery level, the amperage would drop to some level, voltage drop, it had a relay that would kick off and you wouldn't burn up the rest of your battery. So we couldn't figure that out because we had never been introduced to some kind of crazy modern concept like that. And it was a real challenge for us on the fly to all of a sudden Bob said, let's make the lights go off. And I think in the end we ended up using carbon rods from the arc lamps as a variable resistor to help us out of that jam. But things like that were all the time. Things would break on the car. Obviously things inside the car would break with, Michael would hit the battery and break stuff off, or things would snap off, or Doc Brown would break something on us. And so we actually had a really good team, crew, 40-foot trailer equipped with all the pieces left over that we could use to help fix things on the fly and keep things rolling along. Questions? Yes?
What's your favourite prop that you guys have made out of everything in the whole films that you've made?
You know, we started this movie at the end of November, and it has to come out and be released on June 15th. And he said, how
Heard this song before, right? All right, here we go. We never know when we give this presentation how we're going to be introduced or whatever. So we brought an introduction. You may have seen this already in the documentary. If you haven't seen the documentary, but let's go to the next one.
For years, Terry and Oliver Pollard have been hitting the road in their DeLorean time machine to speed a future with Act PD. They've raised dollars and awareness in more states and countries than any other Team Fox member. They've spent more time in a DeLorean than even I have, which is saying something. Terry and Oliver, on behalf of our foundation, everyone with PD, and Back to the Future fans around the world, thank you.
That's a pretty good introduction. So over the course of the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to tell you who we are, what we do, how we do it, where we go, and why we do it. All right.
1985. What happened that year?
Back to the future.
Number one movie of the year. I was a senior in high school, and I was just learning about cars and getting a driver's license, all that kind of stuff. And I was about the same age as the Marty McFly character, so that movie had a huge impact on me.
I was already out of high school, and I had a crush on Michael.
To be changed because of stupid lawyers. Because Bob and I had a vision that A Match Made in Space had been made as a film in the late 80s, but it was done really badly. Now, okay. Last day of the show, I'm going to be outside with a box of books. So, Michael Plaster. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. This has been terrific.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'm gonna give away another one of these things. Come on up.
Just too darn loud.
The guys that are standing or whatever, take 2 seats, unless a person with a red armband has one, then you gotta get the hell out of it. Got it? Now everybody, let's fill some seats.
Sit down.
Oh,
Sit down.
Ken Kapelowski. Huey Lewis. And Andy Mountain.
Oh, dude.
None of this would have happened without me.
That's the guy that was here in 2010. That's the guy that was in 2010. The guy in the red,
All right, guys.
the guy with the glasses.
Back to the fun. Anyway.
He was also there for
Let's
Save
do
the
some
Best in the
trivia.
Future ride. Or Save the Best in the Future ride.
You're from Hawaii?
No, not the
Okay,
guy.
trivia. Somebody got a question.
The one with who's standing next to the DeLorean.
To another guy. To anybody else.
One of them,
Anybody want to quiz somebody?
Marty McFly's
No?
outfit.
God, look at the blank look. I have a question. All right, what? What time did Marty and Doc time travel the first time you went down? What time do you think you did?
8 o'clock, 1:21.
What's that? 4:30 a.m. That's right. And what time did they travel in 2015?
4:29 p.m. 4:29 p.m.
October 23rd. Wow, just a couple days ago, guys. It's all right. All right, you got a question. What's that? Garage. Wasn't this Doc Brown's mansion? Right. But this place was destroyed.
No. He sold it to my dad about 100 years ago. He still visits us.
Just knowing that I mean, your dad's a rock star. I mean, you guys must jam together, right?
You don't understand me any better than he does. I don't want to be a musician. I guess I'm like my grandpa. I want to be a writer. But both famous rock star, best-selling author, big shoes to fill.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
I know.
It's good advice.
Then why can't he accomplish not ruining a single birthday party?
No, tell me, he doesn't show up for your birthday.
Oh, he shows up, and he rocks out. For my birthday, when I turned 5, he just jammed out while all the kids peed themselves. When I was 5, I didn't want a famous rock star. I wanted a dad.
Wanted a dad.
Famous rock star.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess. Check out his Vine.
What? Oh, like video. Is this VHS or bait?
What?
Man, this thing is unbelievable.
You act like you've never seen a trailer.
Of course I have. I mean, R2-D2. What are these pictures?
All right, so question number 1. Fans want to know, what is your favorite of the 3 movies and why?
Oh, Back to the Future 3 is a Western. That's always fun. Locomotive. There was something else too. But I had a girlfriend, Clara. That was the best.
Yeah, Christopher!
Let's go over. You know, Claire's here.
What's your favorite?
Our favorite, we're about to screen Back to the Future Part 1. We're in, like, this is Mecca. This is holy ground for Back to the Future fans. We got the DeLorean here, we got the truck. The mall, Puente Hills Mall, has let us put the sign on display permanently as Twin Pines Mall.
What are you so worried about?
about to screen Back to the Future Part 1, and we thought it was only fitting that you give us your official blessings and you know, best wishes for the future. We're hoping you can give us a little countdown to the movie.
Right, I can't tell you enough. You're all going to have a fabulous future. I've no doubt about it.
Ken, shut your cam!
I want to thank you all for being there. Brings back a lot of memories. Brian, what a way to end the week. Your celebrations have been amazing. Enjoy the movie. And let's...
Yeah.
You know what? I think we just need one big, greatest Great Scott.
Great Scott!
And remember, Doc, your future is what you make it.
The future is what you make it.
Yeah.
And what?
Okay, so we'll make it a good one. All right, we're going to ask you one last thing. Roads, where we're going.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Chris, thank you very much. Have a good night. Get some rest. We'll see you in the future. Well. Everybody give it up for Christopher Lloyd!
Back to the future! Yes! It's really happening. I'm so excited. You excited? I'm excited. This is Hill Valley for real. Oh, come on, camera. Don't die on me. Okay. Don't die. Too bad I don't have two cameras. One recording that and this.